Although he left Marvel, he didn't, of course, leave the world of comics. First, he went to a company called Charlton, based in Connecticut, who never enjoyed the success of the big companies and paid considerably less, but rather tellingly had a reputation for letting artists and writers do more or less what they wanted without editorial intervention. And it was at Charlton that he created a bizarre character who, I believe, gave us our first glimpse of Ditko's peculiar worldview, the Question. The Question was a detective named Vic Sage, whose only real powers were his unwavering moral compass and his intelligence. Donning a featureless mask, he would release a special gas that turned him into the Question, ready to fight crime in any way necessary.
You can start to see the weirdness in the books after Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, the immediate late 60s books, the Charlton characters, the Question. There's a lot of didacticism in that character.
There was something about Ditko's characters where I began to wonder whether they'd come to him in dreams. There was something so odd about them that they looked like the kind of almost nonsensical characters that you might see the name of or the image of in a dream and jot it down when you woke up.
But the Question, with his uncompromising take on law and order, comes across like a limp-wristed liberal when compared to Ditko's most extreme creation, Mr. A.
Gurizada, agora a gente tem um limiar aqui, que é o seguinte. Inclusive tem um documentário sobre a Charlton Comics que eu tô atrás desse documentário, né? Tem um depoimento de artistas que trabalharam com o Ditko, após o Ditko, entre eles o John Byrne também. Vários artistas, né? Bob Lytton também começou na Charlton, essa editora, né? Que era a editora do Besouro Azul, do Questão, do Capitão Átomo, do Pacificador, que teve série agora pela DC. Esses personagens, né? O espólio da Charlton foi comprado pela DC Comics e no período da crise nas Infinitas Terras, todos sabem, esses personagens até aparecem na crise e depois entram no universo regular de crise. E o próprio Alan Moore, por lembrar justamente dessas características únicas dos personagens da Charlton, ao desenvolver o Watchmen, ele iria usar os personagens da Charlton e o editor na época, na DC Comics, o Paul Levitz, falou assim, junto com o Len Wein, olha, vamos tentar não usar esses personagens porque a gente vai usar eles na linha mensal, faça personagens alusivos a eles. Então a gente acaba tendo o Coruja, o Rorschach, o Dr. Manhattan, o Comediante e assim por diante. Só que Mr. A é muito mais radical do que o Questão. O Questão ele já flertava um pouco com o objetivismo ali. Mas o Mr. A, esse personagem autoral do Steve Ditko, ele é a visão dele do objetivismo concreto, assim, sabe? Vamos assistindo. Por isso que eu falei, esse é um ponto interessante, que ele começa a tornar o trabalho dele autoral cada vez mais hermético.
Ditko created Mr. A for an independent comic publisher called Wit's End. Mr. A was a radical, no-nonsense vigilante who had a very low tolerance of anyone who infringed the rights of the individual and would mete out severe punishments to those who foolishly strayed into the quicksand of moral ambiguity.
Anybody who'd even committed the merest of crimes was wandering into this poisonous grey area. They were tainted and they could only expect the kind of terrible punishment that his Mr. A was likely to mete out to them.
Mr. A's world was one of black and white, right and wrong, good and evil. And it's clear that those ideas were influenced by Ditko's interest in the work of this woman, Ayn Rand.
You see, my main interest and purpose, both in literature and in philosophy, is to define and present the image of an ideal man.
Ayn Rand enjoyed a surge of popularity in the US after releasing her philosophical novels, The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. Both works of fiction, they expressed Ayn Rand's theories of individualism. She believed man's ultimate goal was personal fulfillment through a rational code of morality, a worldview that she referred to as objectivism. Steve was profoundly influenced by objectivism and used his art to spread the word in the form of Mr. A.
Mr. A's black and white card symbolizes the law of identity. It identifies the two moral potentials possible, the good and the evil, and by one's chosen action, the best or the worst potential can be actualized. The card is also a symbol of justice. For Ayn Rand, Justice is objectively identifying a thing for what it is and treating it accordingly. No one gets the unearned. The innocent is not penalized, the guilty is not rewarded.
You know, Steve Ditko obviously would like me to read these and see the light and step into the light and become an objectivist and become a Ayn Randian philosopher like what he is. And instead, I wind up reading them as something closer to classic American outsider art. They move more into the realm of sheer beautiful, wonderful, straight from the heart American barking madness than I think, and that's the level on which I appreciate them. Don't even pretend to be stories. There is good, there is evil, there is no gray area.
E isso é muito delicado, porque no objetivismo tu tem muito esse ponto de vista, sabe? Não existe um meio termo. Ele acabava vendo muito o trabalho dele e até ele justificou muito do trabalho dele tendo essa visão assim muito com extremos, né, do objetivismo. Isso afetou muito até o modo como ele se relacionou com a própria indústria dos quadrinhos, né?
The stories that I remember hearing, I think from Marv Wolfman about Steve Ditko, was him going to visit Steve Ditko when I think Steve was living above a thrift store somewhere in New York, and they'd had a pleasant conversation, and before Marv Wolfman left, Steve Ditko said, I just want to show you something. And he took a little white empty calling card and took a magic marker, drew a line down the middle, and shaded one half of the card in black and said, there is white and there is black and there is nothing in between.
Ditko's creations, Mr. A and The Question, were a big influence on the character Rorschach in Alan Moore's classic graphic novel, Watchmen.
The most unpleasant right-wing character is Rorschach. He almost ends up as the hero of the book. He's certainly the character who seems to have the most ferocious integrity. Even if his politics are completely mad, he has this ferocious moral integrity that has made him one of the most popular characters in the book. And obviously that ferocious moral drive and integrity, that was kind of my take upon Steve Ditko.
E isso dá muito o que pensar, né? Sobre, olha só o Rorschach, será que o Rorschach tá certo, será que o Rorschach tá errado? O Rorschach é extremo, e isso vem da visão, da impressão que o Alan Moore teve com o Mr. A e com o próprio Ditko. Doido isso, cara.
Somebody had been interviewing Ditko and had said, have you ever heard of this book, Watchmen? And he said, what's that? And they said, well, it's got this character in called Rorschach. And he said, oh, yes, Rorschach. He's like Mr. A, except he's insane.
Most of Ditko's fans found the character...
Vocês viram, né? Caraca, velho, o Ditko falou, tal como o Mr. A, só que esse cara é maluco. Não sei não, cara, acho que não é só ele, não.
of Mr. A